How's it going today, everybody? Having a great day in the shop. Got the wood stove just pounding the heat. Not too much heat though. Those of you that heat your shop with wood know. Yesterday I had a situation, and a heat situation. I threw a bunch of oak in that stove. It's not super cold out right now, and I went into the yard and did some work. Well, I came in here. It was 29 degrees Celsius, so like 90 Fahrenheit in here. You almost got to strip down to your gitch. It's so warm. So I got her at a nice dull roar today. Today's video is going to be different. I've never done a video like this since I've been YouTubing. I'm going to title this video Frequently Asked Questions Number 1. As you guys know, my email's on my About page. As my channel gets bigger, I just can't answer every email. It's impossible. Believe me, friends, I've tried, but it's so cool that so many of you look to the Tin Man to help with your saws. Most of the emails I answer are those of you out there, you're having a problem with your saw. And often, friends, if you guys are having problems with your saw, make a video. Okay, this is Frequently Asked Questions number 1. How can I help you with your saw? Number 1, if you're having problems with your saw, open up a YouTube channel and make a little video. Post it to YouTube and send me the link. That way, I can see your saw running and help diagnose it. If I can't see the saw running, friends, I can tell you what it might be, but often I can really get to the heart of the problem and tell you where I would look. If that's wrong, you can send me another email and we can do it again. But so that's number 1. If you're having problems with your saw and you email me, put in the title saw problem or saw's running funny. That way I know, and maybe make a little video and show me the saw running. What's it doing? And then I can help you there. So this is going to be a frequently asked questions video. I get so many questions. Oh, people ask me about this toque. I've been wearing this toque on the channel. This is the last toque my grandmother ever knit for me. She's gone now, but I put it on. It's got a hole in it right here, but I still wear it, friends. So, okay. I went through some emails. I've been keeping a list over the last month. Comments and questions that I get all the time through email. Number 1, I get this one a lot, and I never thought about it, but yeah, chainsaws do that. My saw idles faster when I first fire it up cold. Is there something wrong with my saw? Is there a way I can stop that? So I'm going to tell you guys something right now. That all saws tend to idle faster when they first fire up. Now the question is why? When you fire your saw up, the rings are sucked in, the piston's small, and the cylinder's small. As you warm your saw up, the piston swells, the rings will swell a little bit, and the cylinder swells. All that stuff mates together and seals the cylinder. So as you warm up your saw, it'll slow down in idle and then settle. Sometimes the chain will be running a bit when you get it going. Friends, that is totally normal. I get this question all the time. That's totally normal. Once your saw gets warm, it should idle normally and slow down, okay? So if you're having that problem, that's not actually a problem. You just need a time for everything to warm up. And as everything warms up, things start to bed together and it'll slow down. You're actually getting some leakage. You might notice your saw is smokier when you first fire it up. Those rings are leaking a little bit. And as they leak, you're getting some blow-by and things like that, which will cause it to run a little bit leaner, which will and then cause your saw to run a little faster at idle. So if you're having that problem, no issues. Number 3, why don't I use a tach? You guys see other channels, and I watch other channels. Friends, you'll never see me comment really about another channel. Everybody does things differently. Some of these guys are professionals. I'm just some guy in his shop. Don't forget that. I'm not a professional 2-stroke mechanic. I'm not a small engine mechanic. I'm just some fella in his shop. So the way I do things might be totally different from somebody that went to Husqvarna training course or still. Why don't I use a tach? Well, to be honest, I will use a tach to set idle if I think there's a clutch issue. Sometimes a saw is idling a little 500 RPM faster than it should, and the clutch is engaging. Now, if I think that clutch is no good, I will then put a tach on it and make sure I'm at the approximate RPM. Why don't I set max RPM with a tach? Well, to be perfectly honest, I don't believe in that method, because tuning, your high-jet tune, is based on air temperature and air density, and also elevation. We don't have a lot of elevation here, or elevation changes. I don't deal with that, but if you're tuning, if that book says 13,500 RPM, okay, and you're using a tach and that's how you're tuning, your saw could be lean at 13,500 RPM on the tach, and you could think it's fine. The way I tune, and I will put, or I will tell you guys to go and look. I have a video called How to Tune a Chainsaw Carburetor. That's how I tune. I want a nice 4-stroke out of the wood. The minute it hits the wood, I want it to clean up in the cut, meaning no more 4-stroking. When I lift up, I want it to 4-stroke. If it doesn't do that, it's too lean. If it doesn't 4-stroke, it's too lean. If it's 4-stroking in the cut, I either have a chain issue or I'm too rich. Okay, I tune by ear. If you guys watch guys run hot saws and stuff like that, most of those guys tune by ear, as I understand, because if a saw has a 4-stroke, it'll never blow up. Friends, I have never blown up a saw tuning the way I do. The other reason I don't use a tach for RPM, my saws are ported. Most of the saws you see me running on this channel are ported. Factory RPM goes right out the window. A saw that runs 13.5 stock, the way I port them, sometimes they'll run 15, you know. So if I tune it for the stock RPM, it's going to be just blubbering and be super rich. So if you want to use a tach, you can use it as a reference, but I wouldn't recommend you use a tach to set max RPM, because if you don't have the ear, a tach can help you set that RPM, but if you don't have an ear, you could actually be too lean at 13.5. In winter here, friends, the air is super cold and super dense. I need to turn my high jet more and more as it gets colder, because my saws will end up lean. Sometimes they won't even want to pull the max RPM just because of the air density. So that's why I don't use a tach. I have one. I never use it. It's always sitting over there on the other bench. Aftermarket parts. I get this question a lot. Tin Man, I notice you use aftermarket parts. A lot of other builders don't. So that's a good one. Now, how can I say this? If you are a fella that lives on a saw, you make your living with a saw, you might only want to run stock factory parts. You might not even want a ported saw. Okay? I use aftermarket parts. A lot of these saws that I build, often you can't get top ends for them anymore, or parts in general, and or if you do get a top end, it's too expensive. So a lot of guys are not going to spend $500 on a top end or $400 on a top end for a $400 saw. So as I started going through my porting journey, I used to port OEM top ends all the time, but often it's cost prohibitive, so I started using aftermarket. You guys see, I port highway and Meteor top ends all the time on this channel. I really rarely have a problem. If I do my job porting and I chamfer them properly, I rarely ever have had a problem with one of my cylinders that I've ported. That highway cylinder on Buckets 266, the rings didn't seat. Why? Tight nickel cylinder and super hard caber rings. They were both fighting each other and they just never seated. But really, friends, you know, part of what Bucket and I do together is we test theories, and I send him saws. He cuts a lot, friends, and he puts a lot of hours on my saws. We haven't had any trouble. We blew up the 850. That was an OEM cylinder, but those are known to have flaking chrome. So if there was an aftermarket available for those, I would be buying those by the caseload and porting them. So I haven't had any problem with aftermarket parts. Some of these cylinders, like highway, I wouldn't have used those 5 years ago. But now, yeah, I use them all the time. And Meteor, I don't have any problems, friends. So Maybe other guys do. I can't speak for what other guys do and what their experience. I live life experiencing my own things. I don't go by what other people tell me. I'll try things, and if it doesn't work, I go, yeah, it doesn't work. So if I start having problems with Meteor or Highway, I'll tell you guys, I promise you that. Another one I get all the time, why don't I work on stills? I like stills. I like some stills. I like some Husqvarnas. I don't work on stills because they don't end up here. It's rare that I find a used still for sale, like a 461 or a 440 or any of that stuff. It's rare that I find a used still that's blown up. I generally don't buy running saws, friends. So I would do more stills. I used to do stills years ago, but they just don't show up. And I'm going to be honest, I like Husqvarna. I just do. I find they're easier to work on. But pound for pound, CC for CC, I find my ported stills are stronger than my ported Husqvarnas. And I'm serious. When you port a still, they are angry, nasty power saws. And I find they're just a little bit stronger than the Huskies. But I still prefer to run Huskies. I like their anti-vibe, and they're just simple saws. So I hope to get more stills on the channel in the future. They just don't show up here very often. And a lot of the stills, it's OEM or nothing. And I find it can be very cost prohibitive to rebuild some stills. So a lot of stills. So I like stills though, friends. I like Dolmars. I like Pioneers. I like Poulins. I like everything. Johnson Reds, Huskies. So it's not that I became a Husky channel because Huskies come for sale a lot and I buy them. So nothing against still, friends. If you run stills, they are a good saw. But I just don't seem to get them in my possession very often. Homeowner saws. Why don't I port, farm and ranch saws? I think I'm going to port a 455 coming up. I'm curious, but why don't I work on those? Well, you guys know, a lot of you out there, once you get your hands on a 60cc plus pro saw, it's really hard to go back to the homeowner saws. It really is. I used to run an 025 and it was a good saw, and I still like those saws. They're snappy little saws, but once I got a bigger saw, my first big saw was a 365 Husky, the one that I run on the channel all the time. It's ported. Once I started running that, I just couldn't go back. I run long bars, friends, and a lot of these homeowner saws, they won't oil or pull a long bar, and I don't like bending over all day. I used to cut with a 20-inch or a 24. Now it's like 28 or nothing for me. So that's why I don't do them. If you have a homeowner saw and it puts wood in your truck, maybe that's all you need. But for me, I like the big stuff. I like the pro saws. I really enjoy the anti-vibe on them, the adjustable oilers, all that kind of stuff. So better air filtration. Once you go to a pro saw, it's kind of hard to go back to a farm and ranch or a homeowner saw. This is the number one question I get all the time. It's awesome. I think it's super cool that you guys trust me with your saws. Can you guys send me your saws? Do I take work? And friends, I'm going to tell you something. I have almost taken no builds since I started this channel. I build for a couple of guys, and that's pretty much all I do at this point. Why? Time, friends. I would love to say, friends, I'm going to port your saws for you. Send me an email. I never wanted this channel to be about how many saws can I port and how much money can I make. I never started this channel for that. This channel is 100% to help you guys with your saws. Maybe entertain you, maybe make you have a better day, or see how my life is here. That's what this channel's about. Now I'm going to tell you guys something. My dream is that my channel can get big enough that I want to, when the channel gets big, friends, and it'll get there. We're growing every day, every week, thanks to you guys. I want to get to the point where I can say, okay, I'm going to take in a couple saws this month. You guys send me your saws, and I'll just do them and send them back to you. Okay? I want to be able to just give away builds. I don't want to charge for them. I don't want to be in a rush. So if I said I'm taking builds, I would have 25 saws here on a shelf, and I'd be fighting to get through them. I wouldn't film as much. I just don't think it's a good deal for me. Other guys do it, and props to them, but this channel's never been about me being strapped to a bench, you know, grinding all day. Got to get these saws done. One day, though, friends, we will get to a point that I will take builds, and I'll be building saws for you guys here and there. I'd rather just give builds away and give saws away than, you know, than open up a shop and be porting full time. You know, I'm just not really into that. So thank you to all your interest. But I don't really take much in the way of builds, just for the sole reason, time. I want you guys to come here and enjoy the content, and I want to make good content. And if I take builds, I can't see me having the time to take builds and do YouTube. So thank you though. Why don't I answer Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff? Am I on Facebook? Friends, I cut all that stuff out of my life years ago. I do have a Instagram account. I never use it. I think as time goes, I will start putting little blurbs on there, but I just don't have time, and you can only spend so much time on the internet. I'd rather spend the time answering your guys' emails than being on Facebook. So if you message me on Instagram and stuff like that, I don't answer any of that stuff because I just don't have the time, friends. Oh, I'm going to answer, if you guys stay to the end of the video, and I don't normally do this, I'm going to answer the number one question I get. I get it all the time. Almost every video there's a comment. Why do you do that? Why do you pull the rope before you shut the saw off? I'm going to answer that at the end. I'm going to go into detail. So wait till the end. I'm going to finally answer that. I've never done it. Do I need a bigger oiler if I run a longer bar in my saw? I get that all the time. I don't know where that came from. Maybe somebody did it on another channel. I don't know. Friends, all my saws, I'm running 28s or 32s. On every saw I own, none of them have a bigger oiler. I don't have problems with oiling. Unless it's minus 30, it can be tough. I blip my saws a lot when it's cold out. I'm trying to keep them warm and keep that oil flowing. You can run a long bar on almost any saw. Saws that say 20, 24 inch, I put a 28 on them. They oil just fine. Stock. Ported. Remember, friends, a ported saw moves more oil because that oiler is running at a higher RPM. So ported, you can oil pretty much any bar you want. But you don't need a bigger oiler. Long bars. I'm almost done, friends. Long bars. Why do I run such long bars in such small wood? For the simple reason, I don't want to bend over. Yes, long bars are heavier. They take way longer to file. But again, if you run a long bar, you're really going to get good at filing, because if your filing's not up to snuff, they just don't cut the long bars, I find. So I honestly, I used to run 20-inch bars, friends, on everything. That's what we run here. I come from the 20-inch bar school. I'm a no-coaster. I'm not East Coast. I'm not West Coast. Not a lot of wrap bars here. You guys can see I'm slowly wrapping all my saws. Looking for a wrap for my Dolmar. I'm sure they're available. I just got to find them. But long bars, I don't have to bend over. And I enjoy that. And the more I run them, I'm getting more comfortable. When I first had long bars, I was having a really hard time making my felling cuts just because it was different. But now, all I want to run is long bars, because at the end of the day, I can do more cutting and my back's not sore. My back isn't the greatest. You know, I've been wearing a tool belt, 40, 50-pound tool belt every day for 20 years, going up and down ladders. My back's not the best. My back doesn't like to bend forward. Try a long bar. And I think you'll find, yeah, your buddies will think you're silly and you'll get comments. But I mean, long bars are just so much easier to use, better for the back, and I find they're safer. If I'm cutting a snag and I'm reaching, which you shouldn't really do with a saw, you should keep it close. Your shoulders and arms will help you. But if you're cutting a snag, I would rather be 3-4 feet away from it than right here. I like long bars. But again, if you stack wood on your truck day after day with a short bar, I'm good with that too. this is just what I do, friends, on this channel. I'm never going to tell you guys my way is the only way. And I know that's pretty prevalent in this, you know, in this hobby, this genre. Guys say my way's the only way. My way's not the only way, friends. It isn't. There's so many good saw builders out there. And I can't say anything for or against them because it's like, I don't know any of those guys. I've never run their saws. All I can say is I'm not the only guy on YouTube, you know, sharing info. There's a lot of other guys out there that share info. You know, guys that have been porting for years and years and years. You know, a lot of those guys do things different from me. Maybe their style of porting or their way is better for you. But my way's not the only way. I've switched to long bars. I'm very open, friends. I try to be open. When I see somebody doing something different, I don't right away go, oh, that's wrong. I try and think, why are they doing that? And try and learn from it. So, but yeah, the long bars, I never used to be a long bar guy. Look, go back early in this channel, friends. I was a short bar guy. And then, you know, talking to Buckin all the time and seeing him run long bars, it's like, I'm going to try one. And I bought a 32-inch bar and started running it. And it's like, for doing firewood, oh, it's great. I can buck that tree so fast with the saw at my hip and never bend over. I can cut twice the wood with a long bar in a day than I can with a short bar, and that's the truth. So that's why I do it. Anyhow, let's get to the number one most asked question. Why do you pull the recoil when you're shutting the saw down? It's weird. I don't understand. I'm going to grab a power saw here, friends. Here, let's grab this one because it's powered up, ready to rock and roll. Okay. Oh, I just about tripped on my own foot, friends. Isn't that awesome? I'm going to leave that in the video. Only you can stop yourself from tripping on an air hose, friends. Okay, I'm going to move you guys up here. I don't know how high you are. John's are at 2165. I really like this saw. I'm gonna port this thing and put it in my regular fleet. Okay, why do I pull the recoil? Again, I'm gonna fire this thing up and it'll probably be a little lean. You'll see the chain going. Okay, again, that's totally normal. Ooh, she's sharp. I am gonna fire this thing up and I'm gonna shut it down as I pull the recoil. Watch my hand, okay? Let's fire this thing up. Try it again. Did you see my hand move? Let's try another saw. How many more saws do we have that will do it like that? Here, let's grab the 576. Let's grab this saw. Okay. You guys see me do that all the time. Okay, let's fire this thing up. These auto tunes, you gotta let them run on high idle for just a second. It has to tune itself to my air temperature. You guys see my hand move a little? Hold on. Ooh, this thing's cold. It's not happy with me. So you see that? Bring you guys right in. And then I'll tell you why I do it. A lot of you guys know why. I know you do, but newcomers always ask me this. Maybe even people that have been cutting for a while. Start this thing back up. See that? One more time, then I'll tell you guys. Okay. I hope you guys saw that. Okay. What am I, why do I do that? Not, the reason why you do that, or I do, excuse me, that saves recoil parts, especially because I run a lot of vintage saws that it's hard to get parts for. What happens is, and I'll bring you guys in close, okay? I'll show you how recoil works. Bring you guys right in here. This is a flywheel off a 272. These work on inertia, right? Centrifugal force. As this thing's spinning, when the saw's running, you ever wonder why the recoil doesn't grab when the saw's running? Look. These are held out by centrifugal force, and the saw's going round and round and round and round and round, right? Okay? Now, especially on 266s. Okay, here's the other half of that equation. There's these two notches here. When you pull this around, right, it grabs here and here. These go into the notches. See how there's a bunch of wear on this? These ones aren't too bad. Okay, those little teeth go into a notch here and a notch there. Okay, this one's not too bad either. You will get these that are super gouged out. Okay, they get worn. When the saw is running, these are out. When it stops, remember the recoil is fully retracted. Okay, recoil is fully retracted. Look, there is nothing to stop. There's nothing stopping it but the rope and all these parts and this piece. When the saw stops, these click in and they smash this recoil. Okay, every time. Sometimes the saw can kick back a little and you can actually break these teeth off. No big deal on a modern saw. You could go to your dealer and get more parts. But on an old saw, that could be bad, right? So when I pull out the recoil, okay, that little bit, when they grab, instead of smashing and having no room to move and no travel, it goes dunk and pushes my hand in. Dunk. See that? My hand takes up the shock, not the recoil parts. I don't do that on stills, because stills, those little plastic things are a dime a dozen. They're the plastic recoil paws. I tend to do that on any saw that has metal to metal. I don't do that. I've learned over my time, I don't do that on some Pioneers, like a P40. P40s have a different kind of recoil, and it's plastic. And if you pull the recoil when it's running, you grind the plastic down. But on Huskies, I just tend to do that because they seem to all have metal to metal recoil parts, which can break. Nothing's worse, especially in winter. I've had it happen to me, and that's when I started doing it. I shut my 266 off, and it actually broke the recoil inside. So, okay. Well, I'm going to stop there. Frequently asked questions number 1. That's why I pull the recoil. It's pretty simple. But I thought I'd show you guys, I like to show you guys why things work with, rather than just tell you. Anyhow, friends, frequently asked questions, keep them coming. I'm always happy to answer them, but those are the questions I get all the time, and I just thought I'll just put it all into a video. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.